Hello students, Assalamu alaikum. So, this is a continuation of our previous class on skeletal and muscular systems. So, today we are going to see about skeletal system and its functions. So, we all know that the bones form the framework of our body and how important it is. Actually, the skeletal system is constituted by a framework of bones and cartilages. It is derived from the embryonic mesoderm. So, in the embryonic stage, the bones and cartilages are made from the mesoderm part of the embryo. So, the muscles are attached to the bones by means of tendons, which are the joints, and provide the necessary force required for the bones of the skeleton to operate as levers. So, there are three types of skeletal systems. One is hydrostatic skeleton, which is found in soft-bodied invertebrates. It is a fluid-filled cavity encircled by muscles. Example, earthworm. Next one is exoskeleton, which is found in invertebrates. It is a rigid, hard case present outside the body of animals. Example, cockroach. And the third one is endoskeleton, which is found inside the body of vertebrates. It is composed of bones and cartilages surrounded by muscles. Example, human being. In human beings, the skeletal system is made up of 206 bones, that is 206 bones and cartilages, and it is grouped into two principal divisions. They are axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. So the axial skeleton consists of 80 bones and the appendicular skeleton consists of 126 bones. So in human beings, there are totally 206 bones. So in that, majority of the bones, that is 126 bones, are found in the appendicular skeleton. That means below our neck area. And 80 bones are found in the axial skeleton, which is the head and the neck area. So that's how the bones are classified. Next we will see about the functions of the skeletal system. So there are several functions that are giving support, shape, protection, acts as reservoir, locomotion, strength, and also has a hemopoietic tissue. First, support. So it forms a rigid framework and supports the weight of the body against gravity. Next one is shape. It provides and maintains the shape of the body. Third one is it gives protection. So it protects the delicate and internal organs of our body. Then it acts as a reservoir. It stores minerals such as calcium and phosphate. Fat is stored in yellow bone marrow and represents a source of stored energy for the body. Next, it helps in locomotion. It acts as a lever along with the muscles attached to it. It also gives strength. It can withstand heavy weight and absorbs mechanical shock, and also has a hemopoietic tissue. Red and white blood cells are produced in the bone marrow of the ribs, spongy bones of vertebrae, and extremities of long bones. So, these 7 are the major functions of our bones. So, generally, calcium and phosphate are vital for the proper formation and proper functioning of the bones. So, it is abundant in meat, egg, milk, and also in fish. So please add this in your daily diet. Next we will see about the axial skeleton. Axial skeleton forms the main axis of the body. As you can see in the picture, you can see the axial skeleton. So it consists of the skull, hyoid bone, that means below the mouth, then vertebral column and the thoracic cage. So these 4 forms the axial skeleton. So we will see one by one. The skull is composed of 2 sets of bones, cranial and facial bones. It consists of 22 bones, of which 8 are cranial bones which protects the brain and 14 are facial bones. The cranial bones form the hard protective outer covering of the brain and called the brain box. The capacity of the cranium is 1500 cube centimeter. These bones are joined by sutures which are immovable, and they are a paired parietal, paired temporal and individual bones such as the frontal, sphenoid, occipital and ethmoid. Then there are 14 facial bones. The large hole in the temporal bone is the external auditory meatus. In the facial bones, maxilla, zygomatic, palatine, lacrimal, nasal or paired bones, whereas mandible or lower jaw or vomer or unpaired bones. They form the front part of the skull. A single U-shaped hyoid bone is present at the base of the buccal cavity. It is the only bone without any joint. So it will be asked which is the only bone without joint. So it is the hyoid bone which is found at the base of the buccal cavity and it is U-shaped. Each middle ear consists of 3 tiny bones. They are malleus, incus, stapes. Collectively are called ear ossicles. The upper jaw is formed of the maxilla and lower jaw is formed of the mandible. Next is the vertebral column. Vertebral column is also called the backbone. It consists of 33 serially arranged vertebrae which are interconnected by cartilage known as the invertebral disc. The vertebral column extends from the base of the skull to the pelvis and forms the main framework of the trunk. The vertebral column has 5 major regions. They are the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum and coccyx. So these are the 5 regions of the vertebral column. And each vertebra has a central hollow portion, the neural canal, through which the spinal cord passes. One important thing, the first vertebra is called as the atlas and the second vertebra is called the axis. So remember that. Third one is the sternum or the chest bone. Sternum is a flat bone on the mid-ventral line of the thorax. It provides space for the attachment of thoracic ribs and abdominal muscles. The rib cage. So there are 12 pairs of ribs. Each rib is a thin, flat bone connected dorsally to the vertebral column and ventrally to the sternum. The first 7 ribs are called as the true ribs. The 8th, 9th, 10th pairs of the ribs do not articulate directly with the sternum but joined with the cartilaginous part of the 7th rib, so they are called as the false ribs. The 11th and 12th pairs of ribs are not connected ventrally, so they are called as the floating ribs, and the rib cage protects the lungs, heart, liver and also plays a role in breathing. So these are the things that has to be remembered about the axial skeleton part. Next we will see about the appendicular skeleton. The bones of the upper and lower limbs along with their girdles constitute the appendicular skeleton. So as I said earlier, the appendicular skeleton is composed of 126 bones. First one is the pectoral girdle. The pectoral girdle are attached with the upper limbs, that means your hands. They are very light and allow our hands a degree of mobility not seen anywhere else in the body. The pectoral girdle is formed of 2 halves. Each half of the pectoral girdle consists of a collarbone and a scapula. The scapula is a large, thin, triangular bone attached in the dorsal surface of the rib cage between the 2nd and the 7th rib. Next one is the upper limb. The upper limb consists of 30 separate bones and it is specialized for mobility. The skeleton of the arm and the region between the shoulder and the elbow is the humerus. The distal end of the humerus articulates with 2 forearm bones called as the radius and ulna. Next we will see about the pelvic girdle. The pelvic girdle is a heavy structure specialized for weight bearing. It is composed of 2 hip bones called coxal bones that secure the lower limbs, that is your legs, to the axial skeleton. Together with the sacrum and coccyx, the hip bones form the basal like bony pelvis. Okay. Next, the lower limb consists of 80 bones, which carries the entire weight of the erect body, and it is subjected to exceptional forces when we jump or run. The bones of the lower limbs are thicker and stronger than the upper limbs. The three segments of the lower limbs are, that is, our legs are the thigh, the leg, and the foot. The femur is the single bone of the thigh. It is the largest, longest, strongest bone in the body. Next, we will see about the structure of a typical bone. A typical bone has a diaphysis, epiphysis, and membranes. The tubular diaphysis or shaft, you can see in the diagram, forms the long axis of the bone, and it is constructed of a thick collar of compact bone that surrounds a central medullary cavity. Next, the epiphytes are the bone ends. The compact bone forms the exterior of epiphytes, and their interior contains spongy bone with a red marrow. The region where diaphysis and epiphysis meet is called as the metaphysis. So, this is the overall structure of the bone. The external surface of the entire bone, except the joint surface, is covered by a double layer membrane called as the periosteum. Next, we will see about the types of joints. Joints are essential for all types of movements performed by the bony parts of the body. So in the picture you can see bones of the skeletal system. So it has been given in a tabular column. The skeletons, two major categories, axial and appendicular skeleton. Axial skeleton consists of 80 bones, and the appendicular skeleton consists of 126 bones. So it has been further categorized into skull, vertebral column, sternum, ribs, forelimb, hind limb, pectoral girdle, and the pelvic girdle. So in that, forelimb and hind limb, that means our legs and hands, both the hands have nearly 120 bones, and it is equally given. Forelimb, our hands has 60 bones. Hind limb, our legs also has 60 bones. So totally 120 bones are shared between our forelimb and hind limb. Next, skull has 29 bones. Vertebral column has 26 bones. Then sternum, rib has 24 bones. Then sternum, pectoral girdle, and pelvic girdle, they totally have 7 bones. So totally the number of bones on an adult is of 26. So now we will see about the joints. So joints are essential. Sometimes they are playing a protective role. Force generated by the muscles are used to carry out the movement through joints, which helps the human functional activity of daily living. The joint acts as a fulcrum or as a lever. So first we will see about the fibrous joint or synarthrosis. They are immovable joints in which no movement between the bone is possible. Sutures of the flat skull bones are fibrous joints. Next one is the cartilaginous joints or amphiarthrosis. They are slightly movable joints in which the joint surfaces are separated by a cartilage and slight movement is only possible. So the fibrous joints which is found on the cranium called sutures are immovable, whereas the cartilaginous joints which are found in our ear, so they are all slightly movable. Example, the joints of adjacent vertebrae of the vertebral column. So the joint between one vertebral column and the another vertebral column are the fibrous joints which are movable. Next is the synovial joints or diarthrosis joints. So they are freely movable joints. The articulating bones are separated by a cavity which is filled with the synovial fluid. Fourth one is the pivot joint between the atlas and the axis, plane or guiding joint between the carpals, saddle joint between the carpal and metacarpal, ball and socket joint between the humerus and the pectoral girdle. So these are some of the examples of the synovial joints and they are all movable. Next you will see about the hinge joint which is present in the knee. Then ellipsoid joint is found between the radius and the carpal. So these are the basic things about the skeleton. I hope you remember there are 206 bones. It is largely divided into axial and appendicular skeleton. Axial skeleton has 80 bones and appendicular skeleton has 126 bones. So in that our hands and legs, both of them share about 120 bones. So which has the major number of bones in our body. Next we will see about the disorders of the muscular and the skeletal system one by one. First we will see about the CTS, which is the carpal tunnel syndrome. The narrow passage tunnel bounded by bones and ligaments in the wrist gets narrowed and pinches the median nerve. This syndrome is mostly seen among the clerks, software professionals, and pregnant women, and people who constantly play or text in mobile phones. So be careful, girls and boys. So we have an activity. An exhausted student was attending a lecture. After 30 minutes or so, he lost interest and he let go with a tremendous yawn. To his great distress, he couldn't close his mouth. His lower jaw was locked open. What do you think would have caused it? I think it is because of the hyoid bone getting dislocated. What do you think? So, in disadvantage or disorders of muscular system, first one is the myasthenia gravis. So it is an autoimmune disorder affecting the action of acetylcholine of the neuromuscular junction leading to fatigue. You know the acetylcholine is the enzyme which is responsible for the functioning and movement of the muscle. So myasthenia gravis leads to fatigue, weakening and even paralysis, which is in Tamil called as vadam, of skeletal muscles. Acetylcholine receptors on the sarcolemma are blocked by antibodies leading to weakness of the muscles. When the disease progresses, it can make chewing, swallowing, talking, and even breathing becomes difficult. Next one is the tetany. Tetany is the rapid muscle spasm occur in the muscles due to the deficiency of the parathyroid hormone, resulting in the reduction of the calcium levels in the body, which causes the tetany. Next, muscle fatigue, atrophy, muscle pull, and muscle dystrophy or some of the other disorders of the muscular system. Next, we will see about the disorders of the skeletal system. So, arthritis and osteoporosis are the major disorders of the skeletal system. Arthritis is an inflammatory or degenerative disease that damages the joints. There are several types of arthritis. First one is the osteoarthritis. The bone ends of the knees and the other freely movable joints wear away as a person ages. The joints of knees, hip, fingers, and vertebral column are affected. Next one is the rheumatoid arthritis. The synovial membranes become inflamed and there is an accumulation of fluid in the joints. The joints swell and become extremely painful. It can begin at any age, but symptoms usually emerge before the age of 50. Next one is the osteoporosis. It occurs due to deficiency of vitamin D and hormonal imbalance. The bones become soft and fragile. It causes rickets in children and osteomalacia in the adult females. It can be minimized with adequate calcium intake, vitamin D intake, and regular physical activities. Do you know DTI? DTI is the diffusion tensor imaging. Is applied to study skeletal muscle physiology, anatomy, and pathology. Next, we will see about the benefits of exercise. So, the exercise and physical activity fall into four basic categories. They are endurance, strength, balance, and flexibility. First one, the regular exercises can produce the following beneficial physiological changes. The muscle used in exercise grows larger and stronger. The resting heart rate goes down. More enzymes are synthesized in the muscle fiber. The ligaments and tendons become stronger. Joints become more flexible. Protection from heart attack. Influences hormonal activity and it improves cognitive functions. It prevents obesity, promotes confidence and esteem, and aesthetically better with good physique. Overall well-being with good quality of life, prevents depression, stress and anxiety. During muscular exercise, there is an increase in metabolism. The oxygen need of the muscles is increased. This requirement is met with more oxygen-rich red blood corpuscles available to the active sites. There is an increase in heart rate and cardiac output. Along with the balanced diet, physical activity plays a significant role in strengthening the muscles and the bones. So, my dear girls and boys, so with this lesson gets over.